Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at how young people are dealing with a world that's just overflowing with information. But often it feels like there's not a lot of meaning there. Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we've got some really interesting source material that we're going to be unpacking today. And it tackles questions about the role of religion in all this, in this search for meaning. And how young people can kind of find their own way when there's all this pressure to chase, material success and fame.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough world out there for young people these days. I mean, they're just bombarded with messages about what a successful life is supposed to look like. And it's all about, wealth and being a celebrity. But at the same time, so many young people are saying they feel disillusioned with traditional institutions like religion.
Yeah, that's really interesting. One of the sources we were looking at actually quotes a teenager who said, if God is, all-powerful and all-loving, why is there so much suffering? It seems like a lot of young people are struggling with that idea of a passive God who's not really involved when they see so much harsh stuff happening around them.
Right. And I think that struggle really points to a deeper need for purpose. If there's a higher power, where do we fit in? What are we supposed to be doing? These are really big questions.
Yeah.
And I don't think traditional religions have always done a good job of answering them, especially in a way that speaks to younger generations.
Yeah, it's like they're looking for something more, more active, more engaging, maybe even a type of spirituality that says you can be part of the solution instead of just, accepting things the way they are.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I think this whole celebrity culture thing comes in. It's like this really attractive alternative. It promises a sense of belonging and validation and even purpose just by being connected to these larger than life figures.
So are you saying that when young people don't have good spiritual guidance, they might turn to celebrities instead?
Well, it's not like a one-to-one replacement.
Yeah.
But think about it. When we see these celebrities with all their wealth and recognition, living these seemingly perfect lives, it's easy to get caught up in that, especially when you're young and still trying to figure out your own place in the world.
That's true. But it makes you wonder, though, right? What needs are actually being met there? Is it really giving people a sense of purpose? Or is it just a distraction from those bigger questions we were talking about?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where I think it can be helpful to look at different perspectives, like what the Baha'i faith has to say.
Yeah, the Baha'i faith came up a lot in the source material. And one thing that really stood out to me was how much they emphasize unity and discovering your own inherent worth, which seems so different from that whole celebrity worship thing. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. So the Baha'i teachings say that every single person is a unique creation and that we all have a specific purpose in life. It's about recognizing that you have value and that you have the potential to do great things, not by copying someone else, but by being true to yourself.
I see. So instead of looking to other people for validation, you're encouraged to look inside yourself.
Exactly.
And connect with your own inner compass, almost like there's a spark inside you that connects you to something bigger.
That's a great way to put it. And that connection is really important in the Baha'i view of humanity. You're not just watching from the sidelines, you're actively participating in making the world a better place. You have the power to make a difference, and your contribution is important.
This is so different from what we were talking about before, that passive follower mentality that we see a lot. The source material really emphasized this idea of young people being agents of change.
Right? It's a totally different way of looking at things.
And they really are.
Young people aren't just the future, they're the present.
Yeah.
They have the energy and the idealism and the fresh perspective that we need to challenge the way things are and to come up with new solutions to old problems.
And it seems like education plays a huge role in all of this. Our sources talked a lot about how education can empower people. And that made me think about those examples of Japan and South Korea that we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Where education is so highly valued.
Right, in those countries. Education is seen as absolutely essential for progress. It's not just about learning facts, it's about developing critical thinking skills and learning how to navigate a really complex world.
So it's not just about, memorizing facts and figures, but it's about learning how to think for yourself, to question things, to really analyze information and then come to your own conclusions.
Exactly. It's about giving young people those intellectual tools they need to be, active and engaged citizens who can help create a better world.
Yeah. That actually makes me think about something else from our sources. It seems like the disillusionment that some young people feel It's not just about traditional religion. It extends to like institutions in general. They see all this corruption and inequality, and they see a lack of action on like big issues like climate change. It's almost like they're losing faith in the systems that are supposed to be there to guide and protect them.
That's such an important point. And when you combine that disillusionment with that yearning for meaning that we were talking about earlier, I think it creates this really fertile ground for new ideas and approaches to emerge. Young people aren't just sitting back and accepting the world as it is. They're actively looking for ways to make it better.
So while the Baha'i faith offers one perspective, are there other ways that young people are finding meaning and purpose, even outside of organized religion? Our sources mention things like secular humanism and a growing interest in mindfulness and personal growth.
Oh, absolutely. Young people are exploring all sorts of different philosophies and practices, and they're often like blending elements from different traditions to create their own unique paths. Some find meaning in activism, dedicating themselves to social justice causes, while others might turn to artistic expression or entrepreneurship, or even just like focusing on living a life that aligns with their values of compassion and sustainability.
It seems like technology plays a big part in all of this too. Young people are using social media to connect with people who share their views, and to build communities, and to speak out about the things they care about.
Right, technology can be a powerful tool. It can help people connect and feel empowered. But it also comes with its own set of challenges, like the constant flow of information can be overwhelming, and it can sometimes lead to information overload, and even like a feeling of detachment from the real world.
That's so true. It's like this paradox. We have more information than ever before, but so many young people feel empty. It's like they're searching for something deeper, something more real.
And that search for authenticity is really important. It's about cutting through all the noise and distractions, and connecting with your own values, and finding ways to live those values out in the world. It's about recognizing that you have the power to make a difference, even if it seems small.
That really resonates with me. I bet it resonates with a lot of you listening too. We've all felt that pull towards something more meaningful, that desire to do something that matters.
It's a very human thing to want that.
And the good news is, there are so many ways to find it.
Absolutely. The key is to be curious, to explore different options, and to figure out what feels right for you.
Speaking of exploring different options, our sources talked a lot about education as a tool for empowerment, but what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it goes beyond just acquiring knowledge. It's about developing critical thinking skills, encouraging young people to question assumptions, to look at information from multiple perspectives, and to form their own informed opinions.
So it's not just about what you learn, it's about how you learn to think. Education should empower young people to be active learners.
Yes.
To engage with the world in a critical and creative way, and to become lifelong learners.
I love that. Lifelong learners.
Our sources mention Japan and South Korea as examples of countries that really prioritize education as a way to achieve progress. What can we learn from their approaches?
Well, both of those countries have invested heavily in education. They recognize that it's crucial for economic development and for the well-being of society as a whole.
Right.
And they emphasize not just academic excellence, but also character development, social responsibility, and a strong work ethic.
That's interesting. It sounds like they see education as being about more than just individual advancement. It's also about contributing to the common good.
Absolutely.
It's about helping young people develop a sense of civic responsibility and to see themselves as active participants in creating a better future for everyone. But it's not about just copying what those countries are doing right. Every society has its own unique context and challenges. So how can we take these insights and use them to empower young people in our own communities?
That's a great question. And it brings us to a really crucial point.
Yeah, it seems like the key takeaway here is that there's no magic bullet. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. When it comes to empowering young people, it's going to take like a multifaceted approach that really addresses all their different needs and aspirations.
Right, exactly. It's about creating an environment where young people feel supported and where they're encouraged to think for themselves and where they feel inspired to take charge of their own future.
Our sources talked about some interesting initiatives like mentorship programs and community youth groups, and even online platforms that connect young people with opportunities for growth.
Those are all really great resources. Mentorship especially can have such a huge impact. It gives young people guidance and support and a sense of belonging, especially during those really formative years.
It's like having someone in your corner, someone who believes in you, who sees your potential and who helps you navigate all those challenges you face along the way. And it doesn't have to be a formal program or anything. It could be a teacher or a family friend or even someone you meet online who shares your passions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mentorship can come from all sorts of places. The important thing is to nurture those connections and to create spaces where young people feel comfortable asking questions, exploring their interests, and getting advice from people who've been there before.
That sense of community is so important too. Our sources talked about how crucial it is to create spaces where young people can connect with other people who share their values and goals.
Exactly. It's about fostering that feeling of belonging, that sense of being part of something bigger than yourself. And it's in those communities that young people can find support and encouragement and inspiration to pursue their dreams and to really make a difference in the world.
And it's not just about giving them resources. It's also about giving them a voice, a platform to share their ideas and perspectives.
Right. Empowerment comes from feeling heard and valued. It's about giving young people a seat at the table, letting them participate in decisions, and allowing them to use their unique talents and insights to shape the world around them.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the most important message we want to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that young people have so much potential. They're not just the leaders of tomorrow, they're the change makers of today. They're full of ideas and energy, and they have this deep desire to make a positive impact.
But they need our support.
Yes, they do.
They need guidance and mentorship and opportunities to develop their skills.
It's up to us to create an environment where they can thrive. We need to empower them to think critically, to embrace what makes them unique, and to use their passion and creativity to build a better future for everyone.
And that brings us to our final thought for you today. What can you do to support and empower the young people in your life? How can you help them navigate this complex world and find their own path to meaning and purpose? The answers are inside you. Think about your own journey, your own experiences, and consider how you can share your wisdom with the next generation. Even the smallest acts of encouragement can make a huge difference in a young person's life.
It's a team effort. We all have a role to play in empowering young people to become the best versions of themselves and to create a world where everyone can truly thrive. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive